Welcome to KRA's The Hub, the official podcast of KRA Corporation. And now get ready to hear workforce topics and trends you need to know on the go.
Well, welcome back to KRA's The Hub podcast, the place where we spotlight people and programs that are helping to shape the future and the now of workforce development. Today, I'm excited for us to dive into really a story about opportunity, access, and the power of real-world experience. And joining us today is Jermaine from Genesys Works Chicago, an organization that's helping high school students and underserved communities gain professional skills, confidence, and paid internships that they need to help launch meaningful careers. So Jermaine Donaldson, welcome to the Hub.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, before we dive into the incredible work that Genesys Works is doing, tell us a little bit about your journey, what brought you into the world of workforce development and youth empowerment, and what is it that drives you in your passion for the mission of what Genesys Works is doing?
Well, first off, I am not from Chicago, even though I'm working out of the Chicago office. I am from Michigan. So I grew up, beautiful family, great dad, great mom. My dad literally is retired from Chrysler, and my mom was a school bus driver. So I didn't really have any access naturally to the corporate world. Most of my thing was really aligned around blue collar work, and someone took a flyer on me and gave me an opportunity at Kmart headquarters in Troy. And I literally was able to work in the accounts payable department as they installed a new accrual system. And for transparency, it changed the course of my life. And I never looked back. 20 years later, I've been working in all of these different positions in different companies. And when I saw the opportunity to join Genesys Works, it was like my full circle moment. I realized I do have two brothers. My older brother worked for Ford, and my younger brother actually worked for Chrysler, both of them in the plant. So the only difference between me and those two amazing gentlemen was this internship. And I was like, if I'm in a position to offer this same door that could show so many different opportunities to other young professionals that are inner city youth, I'm willing to move across the country to do it. And that's exactly what I did. I moved from Georgia all the way to Chicago to take this opportunity. And yeah, that's my why. Every time I see one of our young professionals, I literally, it feels like I'm seeing myself. And I'm so excited. The hero in the story has always been those people over at Kmart headquarters that gave me that opportunity. And I'm always on the lookout for another company that's willing to do the same thing for one of our young professionals here.
So it's easy to say that the automotive industry is in your DNA, but you found yourself in a different direction, an opportunity to make impact. Tell us give us an overview of Genesys Works and what you do, who you serve, and what is it that's unique about the model for preparing young people in their professional careers?
So at Genesys Works Chicago, and we are a national organization, but specifically I'm in our Chicago office. Our mission is really simple, yet transformative. We connect high school seniors from underrepresented communities to meaningful paid 10 to 12 month long corporate work study positions. We serve students who have the drive, the grit, and the potential to succeed, but who often lack access to the professional networks and opportunities that can open doors to lasting careers. So our model is unique in the sense that we know that we're functioning as a bridge between education and workforce development. So we recruit them while they're juniors and they become aware of our program, they apply, and then after they apply, they go through a summer, if they are accepted into our program, 7 weeks or so of training. And in that summer of training, they're getting those professional skills. They're learning about IT fundamentals, they're learning about data analytics, they're learning about project management, and all of this stuff. And by the time they're done, they're literally ready to step into a position with a corporate partner. And these are some of Chicago's top companies. So iManage, TransUnion, and Accenture. And that's the great part. Those are the heroes of our story, these corporate partners that's willing to get into the process with us and help us build these young professionals into great future employees. So I just get excited talking about it, but that in my mind is the differential. A lot of the programs you'll see will start later, or they will omit that pre-training, or they're shorter. They're 6 weeks to 12 weeks, where this is 800 hours roughly that these young professionals are working in these corporate settings. So they got about a month where they're getting adjusted, but after that, you're seeing real meaningful work being done by those young professionals in those corporations.
Chicago is a great city, and KRA has had a partnership in Chicago for almost a decade, providing workforce development services. It's a city of a lot of opportunity, but there are also some inequities. There are challenges that are present within the city. Describe for us, what are some of the barriers that you've seen that your organization has worked through to really help the young people within the city access meaningful work experiences? And how does Genesys help to bridge that gap?
Great question. So you're right. Chicago is rich with opportunity. A lot of people miss that it's a $900 billion a year. That's what they gross. That's crazy. There's over 340 companies here that make over $90 million a year. So when we look at these young professionals, a lot of them live within a few miles of world-class corporations. Yet the path to careers there feels invisible. Barriers like limited exposure, transportation, perceived bias and actual real bias, economic instability, all of those things can make it feel nearly impossible for a student to imagine working in a downtown office, let alone thrive there. And what we do is we bridge that gap. We don't want them to just say, oh yeah, I want to do it, and then apply and then get there and feel like a fish out of water. We want to demystify that for them. So we help them, whether that's getting them the cars that they need to be able to catch the train to get to that. So the transportation support, that professional coaching, how to write the right email, how to leave a voicemail, some of those little things that we overlook, what to dress, what to wear, that makes them, when they walk in for that first time and those first few times, not feel like they're out of place. The technology resources, exposure to things that maybe they touched on in high school, but double clicking on Excel, where they can literally know where they walk in and they ask them for a task, they know that they can accomplish that task without overly taxing the supervisor they're working with. So more importantly, we connect those students directly with the companies after all of that training takes place, where they don't have to go find it themselves. They literally just walk right into the door for that opportunity to start. So when a corporate partner says yes to hosting an intern with Genesys Work, they're really shifting a young person's trajectory. And what we're doing, still being the employer of record, is trying to take that lift off our employers as well. So that's the gap we're looking to fill, to make it easier for the student as well as easier for the corporate partner to meet at the middle and keep developing the future of our workforce here in the city.
Now, one of the challenges in youth work, and something that we've experienced in talking with other youth providers around the country, a common issue and challenge is the engagement of youth. One, engaging them to begin with. Two, keeping them engaged in a program from start to finish, and then ultimately employment. What are some of the keys that Genesys has found? I know you start working with them early as a junior in high school. What are some of the keys to engaging and keeping the youth engaged through the program?
So for me, it's interesting. I'm in business development, and full transparency, a lot of this is being done by our program team. So people like Zoe Harris, our program manager over curriculum and training, James McLeod, our associate director of internship services, and Maribel Marino, our chief of staff, they start every year by listening to feedback from our corporate partners. So they're listening to feedback from them, and then they're listening to feedback from our young professionals. And they're trying to determine what skills do our corporate partners wish our early career talent had, and what gaps as far as the experience that our young professionals sharing. And then we design our training around those answers. So students go through intensive hands-on curriculum stuff that includes like Google IT fundamentals, Excel and data analytics, project management, design thinking. And we actually do the design thinking with the help of Accenture. It's It's something that a lot of people at their master's level are learning, and these people are getting it in high school. We throw them into some things around really understanding the full Microsoft Office suite. And now we've recently added AI fundamentals training that can lead to certification. So they're literally, by the time they're done with what they do over the summer, they're like one course away from being certified in AI. So the young professionals are excited because they know that these are not just random skills. They know that these are skills that are going to be very useful in this position and in future positions, and is going to differentiate them from everybody else. So throw that in with that communication professionally, managing time, solving problems, and all of those other things, and they are ready to go. And it makes them, the preparation and the understanding of what they're walking into makes them more aching to succeed once they get there.
Yeah, that's a key. And I like the way that you emphasize that and how your team is focused from the very beginning on creating that excitement. I think that's one of the things that can get lost in services that are training oriented, workforce or career oriented, that building that excitement, building the value of the program, and also the real world relevance within the workplace. And you talked about the technical components that your team is getting from employers. I see that and hear that all the time in workforce as well. The other thing I hear is that balance between technical and soft skills, and working with youth especially. What has that feedback been like from employers, and how has that balance been incorporated into the training as well?
So, Jonathan, you actually get the gold star. That is the $1 million question. That is the ongoing pursuit that whether you're at the high school level, the college level, or beyond, everybody's trying to uncover. One of the things that I think that is amazing about our program and unique about our program is we are doing those personality assessments. We're trying to understand, not just give you a cookie cutter, if you will, but really know you. So we're trying to get job descriptions early. And if they say we need a person that's really data driven, not necessarily have to be extroverted, but understands data and is able to articulate that, we want to get that best match. So you're still going to do some public speaking while you're here. You're still going to have to present. But if we know that's not the best version of you, we're not going to put you in a position where you have to do that on a regular. On the flip side, there are young professionals that is where they shine. And we want to make sure we're highlighting and putting them in positions where they get to use that at a regular basis. So it's all about training them for anything, but then putting them into what appears to be their Cinderella shoe. What is the best fit for you based off of what we learned about your personality and your long-term career pursuits? That's what it's all about, getting that balance. And then when we've done that, not only do the young professional win and have a better experience inside of their work study position, but the corporations win, and they are immediately able to see how great a fit this young professional is. And you got to think, the good part is we have 7 weeks. That 7 weeks really functions as an ongoing interview process where we're still assessing what we know about this and comparing that against the job descriptions from our corporate partners that we have till we get that perfect fit. So that's how we do it here at Genesys Works.
It's a great way to keep that employer relationship and keep an open door for future employment opportunities as well, and developing the pipeline of youth behind. Now, equity is a big part of the work that Genesys does in the community, creating pathways for those that otherwise would not have an opportunity. And recently I was looking at a study where they were talking about how impactful where you live is in terms of success, exposure, access to opportunity, access to transportation. What are some of the things that Genesys is doing within Chicago, where there are neighborhoods that have opportunity and neighborhoods that don't? What are some of the things that Genesys is able to do to address some of those barriers and access to opportunity and equity?
So I will say this is a line from the chairman of the board here at Genesys Work. His name is Daryl Henry. He always says this line, and it always strikes me every time, that talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. So yes, there is a lot of talented people, and that's across ethnic opportunities, across, gender, across everything you can think of, social, economic. None of those things really limit talent. The real gap is opportunity. And what we want to do is always make sure that that opportunity is presented. We work primarily with Chicago Public Schools. And if you know much about Chicago Public Schools, about 17% of people who graduate high school from Chicago Public Schools end up graduating college within 6 years after graduation. With our program, about 67% of the people that go through our program end up graduating college within 6 years after they graduate high school. And I believe a big part of that is, again, it's hard to become what you haven't seen. That's what we're giving young professionals, the ability to see themselves in an environment where maybe they've never had a mom or a dad or a cousin or an uncle or an auntie in that space. Nobody in their neighborhood works inside of a building with 80 floors and all glass windows and wears a suit to work every day. But now they get to do it in high school. And by giving them that opportunity and then not just giving it to them, but preparing them for it, we just feel like there's so many barriers that we're knocking down, making sure that they can get there, making sure they have a laptop, making sure they have a dedicated program coordinator that even once the internship starts, we don't disappear. We're still there coaching you. If there is some challenges, we're working with the supervisor within that company to make sure they're getting support. And there's already a relationship established with those program coordinators because they've worked with them all summer long. So you really feel like you got like this big brother or big sister that's in your corner. And then it doesn't stop there. We're still doing continuing education where we're helping you with your FAFSA. We're helping you with your college applications. We're helping you with those letter of recommendations that you may need to get into, and even your scholarships applications, your FAFSA. We're giving you classes on financial literacy. We want to make sure that any like cliff or ditch that you can fall in on this very, very complicated journey, if you're a first generation person that's pursuing college, that there's no gray areas for you, but you're getting clarity and you're getting sound advice. Those are the kind of barriers we want to knock down. And then even after they finish our program, they're done with their internship, they're done with high school, we're still around for our alumni to make sure that we're supporting them in those early years and even into the latter years of their undergraduate program. So it's fully comprehensive. It is very much hands-on, and we are literally leaning into seeing our young professionals win by doing everything we can at every turn to make sure we're supporting them.
Nowadays, no conversation around equity without discussing AI is relevant anymore. I know you and I talked about this before as well, around the current workforce. Really, there's no job or no industry that has not been touched or has not been impacted and having an influence by AI. And as an organization that is helping to bridge that equity gap in opportunity, it's also access to how to use these tools in roles that just a few years ago weren't using AI. How is Genesys approaching that in the integration of training and preparing the youth for these opportunities?
So we are very much leaning into whatever appears to be cutting edge, and AI is definitely that. The whole world is adjusting, and it's interesting because we've talked to some of our college partners where we see a lot of our young professionals go, and even early in year one and year two, there's people that are on college campus that really haven't taken the time to really understand AI fundamentals. And I take my hat off again to our program team for recognizing this and trying to get ahead of it and say, what can we do to prepare our young professionals so that they're not inappropriate using AI inside of these positions, because we do have partnerships with law firms and with financial industries, and they're expecting you, depending on the company, to either be fully leaning into it and be all aware of it and know exactly how to use it, or to be very strategic on how you use it so you don't put any information in it that's proprietary. So we do the AI fundamentals training that actually leads to certification, and it's about, I believe, a total of 5 different courses inside of it. And before they're done with summer training, they've already done 4 of them. So they literally have one left that they can do, commit a couple of hours to it, and then they'll be AI certified with AI fundamentals. So we're keeping them above the fray, if you will, as it relates to AI, and they can go in, they know how to do some prompts, they know what is appropriate to use AI for and what not to.
We opened this interview today by talking about what drives you, your passion, your mission, how that aligns with the mission of Genesys Works. For those in workforce or community-based work, it's those full circle moments when you see impact of the programs and the services that really brings it home. When you think about the work and your time with Genesys, what are some of those impact, or maybe one impactful story that you can think of someone that's gone through the program and has been impacted by the services?
There are so many. Like every time I talk to one of our young professionals, I am blown away. But one just stands out, and it was the very first Genesys Works Chicago intern. Her name is Yadira Serna. We just had our 15-year anniversary, and she was one of the speakers that we highlighted there. She was part of our first class. She came in, she literally showed up early to her. Everybody gets interviewed. She shows up early to the office for our interview. And I love the way Eric Patton, who was the original executive director here, tells this story. But she showed up there, interview, blew him away. They ended up placing her in an internship after her training at TransUnion. And she just blew it out the water. She went back, ultimately ended up getting her bachelor's degree, and then got her MBA in financial forensics and fraud investigation. And she has built her entire career at TransUnion. And now her full circle moment is that she now leads the financial and planning analysis group, and she has Genesys Works interns working her. So she's managing and supervising a new crop of Genesys Works interns every year. So that story just blows me away because I know the impact she shares it had on her, but it wasn't enough for her to stop there. She's always looking for ways to pay it forward. So I just love it, and I get excited like just sharing it because I know a lot of people who get benefits from programs don't always look for a way to make sure that that program continues. And that's what makes your dear story so unique.
Yeah, I can't think of a better full circle story of impact than that right there. Amazing, Jermaine, and so inspiring to hear the work that Genesys is doing in Chicago. And I know that beyond Chicago, that Genesys is actually in other markets around the nation as well. Share with us briefly about what other markets that Genesys is doing work in.
Sure. So right now we do have quite a few different offices. I believe it's a total of 8. So Chicago, Houston, Twin Cities or Minneapolis. We have San Francisco Bay Area, New York. We have the Washington, D.C. area, and we literally are in the process of leaning into a couple potential new ones. So we're looking at Nashville, stay tuned, and potentially Atlanta. So we are always looking and very much committed to going to cities where we believe we can make an impact and just taking it and run. Also wanted to throw out Jacksonville and Tulsa. So there you go.
Hey, to our listeners out there in those areas, look out for Genesys Works. And if you're one of those markets that's possibly to come as well, might be some opportunities to partner. I know as we've talked, we are looking for opportunities in the future and maybe now to partner together as well with some of the great work that you're doing. Now, my last question for you before we close out is really around the skill sets of the future, the skill sets of today. We've talked about AI, automation, hybrid jobs. It's a different workforce than it was in previous generations, our parents and our grandparents. What do you think are the key skills when you see success through those that go through the program at Genesys Works? How would you distill down the key skill sets that really define success for young professionals, and that perhaps those that are listening, other workforce professionals and decision makers and leaders, can grab a hold of?
So if you are listening, this is your chance to lean in close. I am very much convinced the future of work is changing fast, but the most valuable skills remain timeless. So you have to be adaptable. You have to have that critical thinking skill. You have to have empathy, which is sometimes lost. And I'm shocked at how much time and energy we're putting behind that. And then that willingness to collaborate that is what's going to define success in any environment. Yes, we're helping people with AI literacy. Yes, we're leaning into data analytics. Yes, we're leaning into design thinking. And all of these things are going to be critical. But what makes humans humans and what makes us valuable in the midst of all of these new things that technology can do is going to be tasks that you can't automate. It's going to be when you can't replace human judgment, or you can't just go out and find creativity, or you can't just go out and get integrity. The computer can't give you grit. Experience can. So those are the things when I think of the future to any employer, to any young professional that's thinking about it, you have to have the power to lean into those skills. That professional development part is the foundation of what we do. We want to make sure they have that integrity. They understand some of those core things about being a quality employee and what they can bring to that culture beyond their technical skills. So that is what I would say, again, is going to keep changing. And of course, with our program team that we have here and the stellar effort that they put into it, we're going to keep evolving, but those are the things that are always going to stay the same.
Jermaine, I want to thank you for today's conversation. Like I said earlier, very inspiring. And I love your passion. I love the work that you're doing. You're the perfect ambassador for this work and what Genesys is doing. And like I said before as well, look forward to opportunities to partner with you as well, our organization and yours, in the work that we're doing. For those that want to learn more about Genesys Works, I know we talked about the markets you're in, the markets you're looking at. What's your website? How can they follow you and also Genesys as an organization?
So if you're looking to just get general information, our website is genesysworks.org, and that's Genesis with a Y in it. And if you go to the corporate partner tab at the top, click on it, scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can throw your information in there and one of our teammates will reach out to you directly. That's if you're on the international footprint. But if you are specifically in the Chicago area and want to chat with me, I can route you to the right person. You can always reach me at jdonaldson, DONALDSON, at genesysworks.org. That's my email. It'll get you directly to me, and I'm happy to have conversations. And even if you're in a different market and you just wanted to chat with me, I'm happy to make sure you get connected to the right team at the right location to move things forward. So we're always looking for new companies that want to do this, and we're very, very happy to kind of explore what that could look like.
Hey, I thanked you for coming on the Hub, but I want to thank you and Genesys for the work that you're doing as well, helping young people to gain skills, see themselves as capable and confident contributors in the workforce. Until next time, you'll definitely have to come back. But until then, thank you for joining today's episode, and look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. And thank you to all of the corporations that's listening. FYI, again, the real heroes are the corporate partners. It always has been and always will be. Anybody willing to take a chance to sow into a young professional, you're the hero. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in today and listening to this episode of KRA's The Hub.
Thank you for listening to KRA's The Hub. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about KRA Corporation, visit www.kra.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.